Hello all, I'm your host, Pastor Tony, and this is Sermon Time. For the last several weeks, I've been sharing snippets of my trip to Israel, which did so much to help me understand various stories in the Bible in a whole new way. And I want to share these insights with you. So each week I take a different part of our trip and I share it with my audience here. Today my topic is Gehenna, hell in context. A place that Jesus talked about that seemed to burn with a fire so hot it could destroy both body and soul. So what is Gehenna? Have you ever visited a timeshare presentation and heard the sales rep spiel about how great it would be to live at their property for the low price of, and we'll also throw in, but wait, there's more. You know the routine, right? So what would you do if you received in the mail an invitation for just such a presentation, but the name of the property under consideration was Gehenna? Would you go to the presentation? What if they gave away a free TV if you come and stayed to the end of a 2-hour lecture? What is your initial reaction to the name Gehenna? I don't know what you know about Gehenna, but Gehenna is an actual place in Israel. We did not visit Gehenna in our trip, but we saw it from a distance, from the Mount of Olives, in fact. Let me provide you the setting. This was our view of Jerusalem from the Mount of Olives. To the south, or to the left of the wall, in this picture, you have the city of David. In this picture, it is toward the bottom. Below Jerusalem, you have the city of David outlined in white. And just to the south and west of the city of David, you have the valley of Gehenna. Here's a shot of our view from the Mount of Olives of that valley. It was known as Hinnom, or Gehenna. Here's another view from the north rim looking down into the valley. You can see many structures at the rim, but no houses or buildings of any kind exist in the deepest parts of the valley itself. And it's not because there wasn't enough room. It had to do with the place. These pictures give you some idea of the beauty of the area. They say a picture speaks 1,000 words, but this would be more like a picture speaks 1,000 lies. While these pictures give you some idea of the beauty today, Gehenna has a horrible, horrible past. Now, I have puzzled over just how to tell this awful graphic story and not give you nightmares, and I'm not exactly sure I'm going to succeed. So I'm just going to tell you what no timeshare representative would about this place. Please keep in mind, as I recount this morbid history, my purpose is to move our attention away from the macabre to the beautiful words of Jesus. So we begin with the bad news and move on to the good. Before the Israelites arrived to the area, the occupants of the territory, the Canaanites, showed their devotion to their god Molech by sacrificing their newborn children to him at the rim of the Hinnom Valley. Molech was depicted as a bull-headed bronze god surrounded by fire. Devotees would literally offer their children up to the fires of Molech, as seen here in this image. Listen to one author's depiction of this pagan rite. This account of Gehenna comes to us from Edwin Black, a reporter for the Washington Post, in 1999. Below the old city walls in Jerusalem, there is a ravine that begins as a gentle, grassy separation between hills, then quickly descends south into the rocky earth. Eventually, the ravine becomes a steep, craggy depth, scarred on its far side by shallow caves and pits pocked by hollowed-out chambers and narrow crypts. Everywhere you see scorches and smolder from trash fires. Rivulets of urine trickle down from open sewers at the cliffs above, watering thorn bushes, weeds, and unexpected clumps of grass among the outcroppings. You smell the stench of decaying entrails, the congealed stink of putrefied garbage, and the absorbed reek of incinerated substances seared into the rock's face. Welcome to hell, the valley of Hinnom, or Gehenna in English. Still visible are the original deep angular cuts into the flat, scorched stone that held the infamous Tophet, pagan altars created hundreds of years before Christ. Tophet altars are said to be named for the noisy drums that devotees of the mysterious dark god Molech would beat to drown out the ghastly cries of children sacrificed in front of their own parents. To the left and bottom of this image you see the drummers. In the black rapture of their faith, mothers and fathers not only witnessed the sacrifice, but glorified the act. It takes no imagination at all to understand why God strictly forbade the Israelites from participating in these pagan rites as they came out of Egypt to occupy the Promised Land. Several of God's severest warnings were reserved for those who sacrificed their children to the fires of Molech, like in Leviticus chapter 20. Again, you shall say to the children of Israel, whoever of the children of Israel or of the strangers who dwell in Israel, who gives any of his descendants to Molech, he shall surely be put to death. The people of the land shall stone him with stones. I will set my face against that man and will cut him off from his people. This is repeated several times throughout the law, and again in Isaiah and other prophets. During his reign, the wicked king Ahaz is seen in 2 Chronicles 28:3, participating in this very ceremony. And he, King Ahaz, burned incense in the valley of the son of Hinnom, and burned his sons as an offering according to the abominable practices of the nations whom the Lord drove out before the people of Israel. There's evidence also that Ahaz's grandson did this as well. But under the reign of the righteous King Josiah many years later, these altars were desecrated and finally destroyed. In 2 Kings 23:10, we read where Josiah defiled Topheth, which is in the valley of the son of Hinnom, that no man might make his son or his daughter to pass through the fire of Molech. Apparently, God takes very seriously a child's right to live, so seriously that he personally sees to the punishment of anyone for violating his will in this matter. After this heathen practice was abolished, the valley was repurposed as a catch-all, a kind of dump, for discarding all kinds of material and human refuse. It was used to gather the trash and sewage of the whole city of Jerusalem. These practices in the valley of Gehenna remained throughout the time of Christ and beyond. With all the refuse over centuries of time, you can imagine the unbearably foul stench that would have developed there. It would make not only Gehenna, but all of Jerusalem uninhabitable. But they had a remedy for this, and this is where Jesus' analogy comes in. Every day they would torch the valley to remove every remnant of the garbage. The fires consumed the debris and cleansed the valley. And this finally brings us to Jesus' words in Matthew 10, verse 28, where he says, "And do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul, but rather fear him who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell." The word for hell in this verse is Gehenna. What Jesus is saying here is we shouldn't fear people who wish to do us harm, and we shouldn't fear evil angels or demons who seek to do us in. Do not fear these, is his command. But fear him, fear the one, fear God who is able to destroy both your soul and body in the fires of Gehenna. That's what Jesus said. And from these words, man has derived all kinds of meanings that under careful scrutiny have nothing to do with what Jesus actually said or meant. Just as an example, let's take the word fear. What does fear mean? I've been in ministry long enough to have heard every explanation under heaven given to this word to make it mean anything other than what the word itself means. People get to the part about fear God and they are like, it doesn't mean to be afraid of God. It doesn't mean to be scared of God. It means to respect him. It means to stand in awe of him. Okay, let's see if these definitions hold up under scrutiny, shall we? Let's read these definitions into our verse that Jesus said. Ready? And do not respect those who kill the body but cannot kill the soul, but rather respect him who is able to destroy both soul and body in Gehenna. How does that sound to you? Does that definition of fear cut the mustard for you? Maybe we should try the other alternative, stand in awe of. He didn't mean to be afraid of, he meant to stand in awe of. Okay, let's put that in. And do not stand in awe of those who kill the body but cannot kill the soul, but rather stand in awe of him who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell, or Gehenna. Do you see a problem here? Jesus used the exact same word in the first part of the verse as he did in the last part of the verse. Do not fear those who kill the body but cannot kill the soul, but fear him who is able to destroy both your soul and body in hell. The word Matthew translated as fear is phobeo, where we get the English word phobia. Be afraid of, like acrophobia, the fear of heights, or arachnophobia, the fear of spiders, just to name a couple. This interesting definition was given on the internet for arachnophobia, and I think it helps us understand what Jesus was trying to get across. Fear of spiders becomes a phobia when it consumes your thoughts and interferes with your daily activities. You see, a phobia is something that messes with your mind, and it changes how you act. Jesus was trying to tweak our view of sin from desirable to abhorrent, and he's seeking to get us to act differently. And he does this through the powerful emotion of fear. These other alternative terms, respect or stand in awe of, while they soften the idea of what it means to fear God, they do not capture the gravity of what Jesus is talking about here. What Jesus actually said is, you shouldn't be frightened by those who can only hurt and kill your body, but rather, you should be frightened by one, just one. Just like in ancient times, they placed their children in the arms of Molech and saw their children's bodies charred to a crisp until their babies' cries were silenced and their lifeless forms fell limp as they passed from life to death. Just like that, fear God. The very real Gehenna becomes an analogy of the very real fires of hell that extinguish the life of those cast in it. Jesus' words in Matthew 10 are based on a passage in Isaiah 31, verse 9, where it says, he shall cross over to his stronghold for fear, and his princes shall be afraid of the banner, says the Lord, whose fire is in Zion, and whose furnace is in Jerusalem. You see, the fires in Jerusalem here are to lead one to a stronghold of fear. Since Jesus is leading us to a stronghold of fear by citing this verse, then let us be leery of efforts to lead us away from fear. And Jesus tells us exactly what these fires of Gehenna were to accomplish. And this is where we pass from the horrific news of the pagan Gehenna to the good news of Jesus' understanding of it. Paganism says the fires of Gehenna serve as a perpetual, ongoing, everlasting punishing of wicked people. That's what it came to be known for. Unfortunately, Christianity today has largely adopted this view of hell. But nothing could be further from the truth. Hell, or the term Jesus used, Gehenna, does not perpetuate the suffering and death and misery that sin has brought to this world. It ends it. Fear him who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. What happens to the soul and body in this fire of Gehenna? Destruction. Like the fires of Molech that ended the life of the children, and like the daily fires the Jews used to incinerate the foul debris of the valley's refuse, according to Jesus, the fires of hell destroy both soul and body of the human being. It ends the life of the person completely. Now, that is not something we are to respect or stand in awe of. It is something we are to fear. But here's the cool thing about all this. The foul presence of sin in our life can come to the same ruinous end as the dump of Gehenna. Every vestige of this awful plague that unrighteousness has brought to our mind and soul and body can be destroyed, not just in the end time, but each and every day of our life. And it's God who does this in us, not to us, but in us. He wants to destroy sin. Idols perpetuate our sin, but God ends it. You've read or heard of the passage, "Our God is a consuming fire," right? That is a quotation of Hebrews 12:29. Well, please allow me to direct your attention to what Ellen White says about this verse and see if the good news about all this doesn't come through. From the Desire of Ages, page 107, we read, "To sin, wherever found, our God is a consuming fire." And she cites Hebrews 12:29. "In all who submit to his power, the Spirit of God will consume sin. But if men cling to sin, they become identified with it. Then the glory of God, which destroys sin, must destroy them." To all who will submit to his power, the Spirit of God will consume sin. He will burn it all away. He does not torture our sin throughout the ceaseless ages of eternity. He consumes it all away. He burns it up. He extinguishes its very existence inside of us. We are not burned up. It is. He is not interested in destroying the sinner. He wants to destroy our sin. However, if we do not submit to the power of God, if we do not relinquish our hold on sin in our life, if we do not allow him permission to consume it all out of our life, one day, my friends, one day, God will keep his promise to remove sin from his universe. And he will do this, as promised, with fire. And all who cling to their sin, all who hold on to it as their preferred way of life, all who choose to violate the conditions of eternal life, these will be destroyed along with their sin. That's not something to respect. That's something to fear. You see, God is on a twofold mission here. His mission is to do everything he can to remove sin from the universe and to save as many people as possible from the fires he will use to accomplish this. He doesn't want to destroy us. He wants to destroy that which is destroying us. Our sin, our pride, our stubborn hard-heartedness, our very unwillingness to let go of our sin, he wants to remove these idols from us and put within us a new heart and a new spirit, one that obeys his laws and follows his ways. This is exactly what he said to his Molech worshiping people in Ezekiel's day. "I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you will be clean. I will cleanse you from all your impurities and from all your idols. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you. I will remove from you your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. And I will put my spirit in you and move you to follow my decrees and be careful to keep my laws." Friends, we have a fleeting moment in time afforded to us to work this all out with God. We can give God the permission he needs to destroy that which is destroying us. We can ask him right now to save us from the fires and ask him with that same fire to target our sin. Like the fires of Gehenna, this is available every day. And like those fires of old, at least after good King Josiah, they are meant to cleanse us. So I urge you to cast in your life's garbage now, before the fires consume everything forever. If my understanding of the signs of our times is correct, we don't have a lot of time left. So, if I can be a salesman, act now. Don't take this lightly. It's a fearful thing. It could end your life forever. And it's a joyful thing because it could save your life forever. Go through these fires with God and you will learn personally the only thing to fear throughout the whole process was your unwillingness to release your grip on sin. Let it Go, and you will find the life-altering, joy-filling, love-abiding God who is your consuming fire, ready to burn it all away. May God bless you with this fire, this all-consuming fire. May it do its work in you until he's done and he could say over you, it is very good. God bless you.